begin to just plant a little seed in your consciousness. This is probably, in my opinion and experience, one of, if not the easiest place to move energy in and out of the human body, okay? Some people are gonna be like, oh, no, it's not this, it's this, or it's that. This has been my experience. And so before we even dive into this, you guys bring your attention down to the bottom, all the way down here, to this strange little butterfly-like piece of bone that exists in your skull. And look where it goes, you guys. The temples, the soft, porous bone called the sphenoid, okay? The sphenoid bone placed in the inner skull between the temples is one of the primary entrance and exit points for energy we encounter in the physical world, okay? And so everybody's heard, you know, the old statement, the eyes are the windows to the soul. Yeah, okay. But there's actually a significance there, because what happens right there, we have this soft porous membrane bone. You guys can put your finger on it and feel this entry and exit area in your body. And then we look up there and we notice, well, what connects there? What sort of, energetic architecture do we have around this area of our body? And that's when we notice this thing called the gallbladder meridian, this incredibly wild energetic structure. We can identify, or rather, let me just define meridians for the purpose of this workshop, okay? And this may be a very, very lacking technical description for those of you that have formal kind of education in traditional Chinese medicine, or some of the more established areas of medicine that look into these structures. But what I'm going to describe them as today, for all intents and purposes here, is invisible energetic pathways that link our organs, our circulatory systems, and pass, move, and transmit energy through the subtle layers of the dimensional and physical body. The meridians, they hold our motion. They run energy all throughout these wild circuits in our body. And all you got to do is look at that gallbladder meridian on the left there and see the way this pathway of energy circulates around the sides of your head. Many people have talked about this as being one of the primary areas in which we often get some form of parasitic attachment. Not only because the sphenoid is a very soft bone, it has somewhat of a vibratory plate, it can be attuned to certain frequencies. It's part of the etheric antenna system of the body, and that it connects not only the third eye chakra right there in the middle, check it out, there it is, right there in the center of your head, but also, the meridians on the side, the gallbladder, the triple heater, and the urinary bladder meridian, which is, going right up here on the left side, right underneath here as well. And so there's a lot of energy that passes through this area. And so what happens is, whatever you see, whatever comes in visually, an energy or an experience, some form of frequency or wavelength of energy that enters your body visually, interacts with this area. Anything that you hear, anything that we see, anything that we hear, look at where these pathways go. And so this is like a literal antenna that lines the sides of your body. And so when we talked about the heavy metal toxicity earlier on, and the ways in which the particulate matter can form around the sides of our head, what it does is it creates somewhat of an antenna-like effect, allowing implantation, creating a magnetic host environment, or what we might even call a bait signal that can attract difficult emotion, difficult energy, people or other people's unbalanced, difficult emotional energy. It can attract or create a very, very, a very hospitable environment for those predatory frequency interruptions that we could experience not only in public, but just, from technology, literally from your computer, from your phone. Look where people hold this thing. There's a number of really kind of like commonplace synchronistic sort of understandings and, these little aha moments we can have when we look at these these invisible pathways of energy that line the sides of our head, and understand that along with this vibratory bone that connects here, and others as well, and you can see the other ones in a different workshop. We'll talk more about how these things interact and more of the antenna-like effect. But, for the sake of this one, we're going to focus on the sphenoid, and why also, because we're going to be clear in this area in a little while. And so let's look over on the right, triple heater meridian. What does this thing do? Life force, energy transformation, and circulation. Oftentimes it's called the triple heater because it works or circulates energy through three of these primary sort of chambers in the body. Some people might even say they correspond with what's known as the dantians, which is, this three energy center system: the head, the chest, and the lower abdomen. It could correspond with, the eventual idea that we're evolving into that. But regardless, and that's a bit of a non sequitur, but the triple heater, this assists with circulation of all types of energy throughout the body. When this is blocked, people will experience poor boundaries, discernment issues, lack of trust, suspicion, thermal regulation issues, just straight up physical inability to regulate your body's temperature can come from a blockage within this area. And just so you know, you guys, they're not just on the head. They go all throughout the body. Well, not all of them. We have 12 primary meridians that correspond with, our organs and a couple other structures and whatnot, but they go throughout the whole body. We're looking at, for the sake of these two, the sides of the head. And it's a whole, there's a lot more there. But, when these two meridians are blocked up, for the people that I work with on a day-to-day basis, this is probably the number one place that we go. Anyone that's worked with me will know that we work with our temples, number one, as creating that opening, cracking open that really intense pressurized emotional environment, pulling the plug on the bathtub, allowing that toxicity to drain out, that allows us to let go of frustration, overwhelmed feelings, resentment, allows us to let go of irritability, especially allowing us to let go of looping thought and emotional cycles. That's the gallbladder. It has nothing to do with the gallbladder organ, although it does. We're looking at it from an energetic and emotional perspective. What it does is it just circulates and runs emotional energy through your body over and over and over again, just like the triple heater runs energy all throughout your body. And what they do is they constantly circulate this running loop of emotional experience or some form of emotional frequency that replicates over and over and over again. So when we bring ourselves back to the idea of the suppressor parasite entity, which we talked about in the first half of this presentation as being one of those primary, either, parasitic or somewhat of a, sentient entity attachment things, that's where they go, you guys. The gallbladder meridian, right on the sides of the head. That's where we go first. And so when we move chi or some form of energy through there, that begins to dislodge or break through that dark kind of black miasmatic energy. And so we always go sphenoid, gallbladder, triple heater. Even if you're just barely becoming aware of these structures right now for the first time in your life, in a short time, you're going to experience a clearing of this area and energy moving through this area, and the phenomenon of your own breath passing through this area. And what that's going to do is give you a greater level of awareness of those structures in your body. So good job, guys. Before we go on, we'll just take a break. Okay. And so, yeah, Dee talks about just a lot of issues around this area. And so even if the gallbladder is removed, you guys, this is a really good question. So I've had a number of clients that will be like, I don't even have a gallbladder. That's okay. You still have a gallbladder meridian. Now, I don't know, what the exact implications would be surrounding, not having the physical organ and the way in which it affects the gallbladder, because the people that I've worked on, we did not approach it in terms of, the physical side effects. What we approached it was clearing this structure on the side of the head that eventually does a weird sort of pattern throughout the body. And one of the ways you guys can think about this, just in a really simple way, is that this is like the browser this is like your cache. This is the browser on your computer. And at a certain point, you got to clear this and delete all the old data because things don't work right. It gets clogged up, it gets bogged down with all this experiential data. And in this day and age, as we're becoming more and more empathic, more and more psychic, more and more in tune with the subtle energies, we're understanding these magnetic effects and the pulling in of energy and the porous membrane bone being the sphenoid. And these are just entry points. We're constantly pulling stuff in here. So just keep your awareness there, you guys. Some people are going to get really intense stuff on the sides of the head. And so you can go through your energetic cleaning, do acupuncture to start dislodging the stuff. You can work with healers, but most importantly, You can do it yourself. You're capable of moving energy through here and dislodging that running, highly pressurized emotional loop